the school board special meeting to order for February 1st, 2024, 6 p.m. Roll call.
Ms. McGowan.
Present.
Mr. Bellows.
Present.
Mr. Bellier.
Here.
Mrs. Harrington.
Here.
Ms. Keynes.
Present.
Mr. Cormier.
Here.
Mr. White.
Present.
Mr. Pappas.
Here.
Mr. Cusimano.
Here.
Mr. Downs.
Here.
Mr. Camiri.
Present.
Ms. Allen.
Here.
Mrs. Stokes.
Here.
Can you please stand for a pledge of allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next item is public comment.
Nope.
Alrighty, there's no public comment. We will move on to FY 2025 budget presentation.
All right, thank you, everyone. I'd like to introduce our business administrator, Ms. Kelly, to walk us through the presentation tonight, and then we'll open up to questions at the end.
Okay. Our FY25 operating budget that we're presenting tonight is a 4.4% increase from our current fiscal year operating budget. With our last ESSER grant, ESSER 3, ending in September, our special grant application for FY25 is significantly lower than it was in FY24. Our food service budget is increasing $250,000. This is mainly due to increased food costs, salaries, and the expected increase to our health insurance rates. Our proposed CIP budget is an increase of 9.5% over the current fiscal year. The next slide reviews revenues. For local revenues, our tuition is expected to increase. A reimbursement for special ed services is also expected to increase. We're anticipating an increase to other miscellaneous local revenue as well. For state revenues, adequacy aid is increasing, while building aid revenue is decreasing. Vocational tuition and vocational transportation aid are also down. For federal revenues, Medicaid reimbursements are down. Indirect revenue is also down. This is also due to the ESSER grants ending in September. Our Air Force Junior ROTC reimbursements will be increasing as they are now reimbursing the district year-round rather than only 10 months per school year. In order to remain tax cap compliant, tax revenue could increase by a maximum of 2.3% or $1,015,000. Our overall total revenue is projected to increase by only $2 million or 2.7%. The next slide goes over the tax cap calculation. The calculation is based on prior year ERA final numbers for property taxes and state education taxes. This amount was $42,554,185 for the most recent tax rate setting this fall. This total is multiplied by the current CPI, which I got from the city, and it's at currently 4.12%. This gives us an increase to the CPI of $1,753,232. The city determines the new construction value. Right now, that is sitting at $60 million. That amount could change. The city has until March 31st to increase the new construction amount, so it's likely to change one more time. We did receive $1.6 million in additional revenue in FY23. This additional revenue lowered the amount to be raised by taxes. The tax is calculated based on the Department of Revenue final numbers used in order to set the tax rate. Additional revenues included $890,000 in adequacy education aid, $188,000 in tuition, $109,000 in special education aid, $97,000 in indirect costs, and $76,000 in miscellaneous revenue. that we are over the tax cap with our proposed budget that we're proposing, putting for you tonight is $1,184,303. Some areas of significant increase or decrease compared to last year. Revenues, adequacy, education aid is increasing just over $1 million. We anticipate our tuition revenue to increase by $300,000, which is based on trends of number of students as well as the 24-25 school year tuition rates. Based on downward trends, we're expecting a decrease of $125,000 in Medicaid revenue. Indirect cost revenues are also expected to decrease, again, due to ESSER grants ending this September. On the expense side, Health Trust issued a guaranteed maximum rate increase of 25% for our FY25 health insurance rates. Raises and salaries to staff covered by one of our 5 CBAs is $1.16 million. Student transportation costs have increased. We went out to bid for regular bus transportation this past fall. We've also seen an increase in private carrier transportation needs. The replacement equipment line is decreasing. $125,000 of this decrease is just to remove the one-time addition we put in last year for the band uniforms. The city is expecting to issue a bond later this calendar year, which will include some school projects. So we factored in our first principal debt payment as well as an interest payment. And the last slide just covers the cost per pupil versus state average. The FY23 middle school per pupil cost is consistent with FY22. High school cost per pupil increased from FY22 but remains exceptionally low. Rochester remains on the low side of per pupil costs compared to the state average across the board at all 3 levels.
We'll open it up to questions.
Christine?
Yes, are the stipends under the category of co-curricular activities? Is that where I see them? And do we have a breakdown of those
Which stipends?
for all these athletic folks?
The athletic one? Yes.
That is generally in the collective bargaining agreement. Stipends.
I just don't know where I can find them.
They're not detailed in there, but that is usually contracted in. This is a special copy. Just answer questions about this presentation.
So what Kyle, hold on, so what's Kyle is going to do before the
So all of the stipends are throughout the budget depending on curricular, co-curricular. And so when we get into the binder, which is through our
You
committees.
don't have a separate category for them?
Hold on, Sandy, just let him explain.
So we're going to talk about all of the committees and all of the stipends that are found in each of the committees, because there's some in a bunch of different committees. But what we're hoping to do is at least just ask questions about the overall proposed FY25, and then close this meeting, and then get into the committees that we have tonight, we can get into the line items.
So is the tax cap that's identified here, what is a brand new one for this year, or is that the one that we used last year?
So every year, the tax cap calculation is redone at the city level, and being a city department, we receive what we are able to appropriate in addition to last year. And with that increase, you can see on this slide, we're 1.1 over the tax cap currently. So if you have questions about these slides, we can answer them, but then the job of the board will be to try to submit a tax cap compliant budget to city council. That's always our charge.
So they haven't given you a number yet, or have they?
They have. So-
I misunderstood that.
So look at the slide that's right here. So if you can see my cursor, this is our
Yeah.
budget from last year, 72,793 right there.
Right,
This is a tax cap compliant budget, $74,790,383. What we have in our budget is this column right here. So in order to get here, we have to cut this much money. Okay? So this is the tax cap calculation that the city would like us to get to. This is the budget that we have, and as Ms. Kelly mentioned, some of the costs due to that increase, right, of 1.1, when you look at health insurance increase alone, we're at $1.7 million increase. Okay? So that's tax cap compliant, and then FY25 proposed is what you have before you.
So the new construction of $896,000 is the new number for 2024.
Yes, it could change by the end of March.
Historically, they give us one number to
I didn't
start,
think it was up to date.
and then if construction is going well, which I think it is, they give us a new number. So that number could change.
I think it activates as of April 1st, I think is when new construction gets decided on how that whole thing works.
So what we would like to do is, we've done in the past, is we work through the budget at our committees rather than here. But obviously, if we have questions about what was presented, we obviously will go with those. So, Mr. Pappas, I think
Well, first of all, thank you for the total information here. My question is back to the health insurance, actually.
That slide?
Yep. And Health Trust gave us a guaranteed maximum increase of 25%. Historically, we don't often hit that, but it could hit that, right?
Yeah, we normally actually aren't even in the double digits. This year, they gave us a warning that we potentially would be in the double digits, and they told us a maximum of 25%, and we were hoping 10, just 10. And unfortunately, we got the bad news, it was 25.
Okay. And as I recall, hearing around the state, almost every school district is facing an increase of this magnitude. So we're not alone on it.
Yeah, they explained to me that due to COVID, a lot of people kind of stopped routine procedures and appointments. And people are starting to get back into the swing of normality. So it's claim-based, so the number of claims last year for our district was kind of through the roof, which drives the rate increase.
And I think the average was about 16 or 18% was
It was
the
high
average.
teens,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Can I ask a follow-up? That being said, then during COVID, the costs must have gone down, so.
I think last year our increase was like 1.9% or 1.8%. It was very low.
Okay.
And that compensates for the lack of use of insurance then
Correct.
from our members. Okay, thank you.
Mr. Bello?
Thank you for presenting this. So when do we know what our actual health insurance increase will be, and when is our final budget due to the city?
So that 25% is a real number. That's not going to change.
So that's not the guaranteed, that's the guaranteed maximum, or that is the rate increase?
That is the guaranteed max that we've been given. That is our rate.
Sure, sorry, if I could clarify.
It's not final rate.
Is that
But
guaranteed?
we won't know it until after budget season.
But they told
Okay,
us
that's
to
good.
plan for this.
The woman told us
Yes.
that based on their calculations, Rochester was even higher than the 25%, but they put a cap, so it's unlikely that it's going to be less than that.
You had a second question?
Yeah, it was just, how does that, when we find that when we find the final increase out, that date, how does that line up with when the final budget is due to the city? What are those dates?
It's close. I think she said sometime in March we would have like a final rate. We present it to the city.
So we can change.
Yeah. There have been times where it's changed and we've already submitted to the city, and then they've gone in and backed things out as that's changed. So we can work with the city on that.
Thank you.
Mrs. Stowe?
Sadie, I just wanted to, I have two questions, but were you saying you wanted to know what the athletic stipends were?
Yeah,
Or
I see
just
a whole
any-
list of them every once in a while.
So I get that we may not have that information now, but if a board member is asking a budget question at the budget, I would think that we would write that down and then send it out to her. So I just wanted to make sure, because I would like it too. Are you looking at any stipends or just the athletic stipends?
Well, I predominantly want the athletic one, because that's what I perceive to be the highest one. I don't know if that is
Can
true or not.
Can we get that sent to the full board? I mean, when we're looking at, if it's all scattered and we're looking at certain committees, I think if we're looking to simplify it, I don't think that's bad, because this is very overwhelming. So,
Looking at just coaching stipends?
Sandy, are you looking at just coaching stipends or just athletic stipends? I think anything athletic is, the whole thing.
You have a second?
I mean, I don't know if it would be too hard to get all the others, like, I know there's a lot of stipends, so I don't know if that would be easy to compile. If that's, I don't wanna put more work on you, but if you have a, bless you, do you have a list somewhere of like other stipends? Because I know we have a lot of stipends in the district, like,
I don't know if that's like centrally located,
if you could just look into that and find an answer, if it's easy to get, I would like that as well. And I just know like there's, like, things that are going on in other areas.
Do you want grant as well as operating?
I mean, if you have it at your handy, I would, you know what I mean? It's all scattered throughout the budget, so for somebody who doesn't deal with budgets, it's just, it gets very daunting when you're looking for specific things.
Any other questions on what was presented? So everybody understands how we'll work through the budget. I know we've done it in the past, but for new board members, you end up at your committees, that's where you'll break down the budget. So good on questions? Everyone's good, we can move forward?
Yeah, question.
Oh, Ms.
Are
Keith.
we talking about revenues at all here? Are we going to, is that open for discussion?
Revenues.
General question.
Because I understand funds came from the state in November of $2,300,000. Are those part of this number or not?
You mean the extra adequacy?
Pardon me?
Extra adequacy aid that we received?
She said we got,
There were extra funds that supposedly, excess funds that came to the, yeah, and the city got 400,000 out of it. We got 2.3 million. November, they were both dispersed in November.
would that have been on last year's budget, or would that go towards this budget, because we got it in that year?
If it was in November, it would be FY '24 revenue.
So it'd been last year's budget, which we could, obviously, if you want to know where that went to, I'm sure she could look into that.
When you say last year, that mean they were in last year's budget?
If we got it in November, if that's when we got it, that 2.3 million, then it was in last year's budget.
Okay, and does that change the numbers here that we're looking at in this thing?
It wouldn't change here.
All right.
Mrs. Stokes?
Just quickly, because we have new board members, should we be bringing our budget packet until the budget's approved, because it's discussed at all our committee meetings, so I know we have a lot of new board members, it would be smart to bring it, and then if you have any questions ahead of time, ask, because they can provide, like if you're asking at the meeting, it's hard to provide that information, so if you want information ahead of time, it might be smart to just ask. That's it.
Any other questions for the presentation? We're good to move on? All right, we'll move on to others. Anything, have anything under other? Is that?
I went to the pop art for the Spalding High School art students last night, and it was really a nice display, and met some of the students. Henry Nelson, Katie Keith, and Chris Littlefield were there, and talked to them about their drawings and paintings and paintings and everything, I believe. But it's open for the whole month, and Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, from 3:30 to 5:30. If you guys get a chance to go down and see it. Really good display.
Right on Main Street at the RPAC.
At RPAC, yes. Yep.
Anything else under other? All right, anyone want to make a motion to adjourn?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Wait a minute.
Passes.